Hi everyone, I'm Miranda and welcome to my YouTube channel. One of my most frequently asked questions is always, how do you decide what to read next? And how do you find so many good books? So today, what I thought I would do is talk you through some of the new October book releases that I'm most excited about. I do quite a bit of research into what books are coming out and which ones go onto my wish list. I mean, if I had all of the money in the world, then all of these books would be ones that I would want to buy. Unfortunately, I don't. So a lot of the books that I'll be sharing with you are real wish list books for me. They're ones I might not obviously be able to buy all of them in October, but I will hopefully be able to get a few of them, and some of them will definitely be on my Christmas wish list and my general wish list for the rest of the year. But I love talking about books. I love looking up what books are coming out and the new ones that I'm excited about. It's even harder, I know, for many of us right now to be able to shop in bookshops. There are lots of local lockdowns happening in the UK, for instance. I used to love, when I lived in London, going into my favourite bookshops and just having a browse and picking up new titles that way. But that's quite a lot harder for me to do now. So I'm spending more time really researching myself about what books are coming out and which ones really catch my eye. Now, there will be some major releases that I won't be talking about in this video because this is quite a personal video. What I'm going to be sharing are the books that match my tastes and my interests. And I hope that if you're watching my video that our tastes will be quite similar. So I'm hoping that these books will also appeal to you. Also, all of the release dates that I'm sharing are UK-based release dates, which could well vary across countries. I can't really research when everything is coming out in different countries, so I've decided to just stick to the UK. But anyway, I hope you find this list as inspiring as I do. So let's get on with it. I've got my iPad here where I've made some notes, and let's dive in. So the first book, there's a whole bunch coming out on the 1st of October. And the first one I've made a note of is called The Postscript Murders by Ellie Griffiths. So this is coming out on the 1st of October, and it's meant to be for fans of Anthony Horowitz. Well, you know I'm a big fan of Anthony Horowitz, and this is meant to be a kind of similar literary style mystery. Well, that ticks my boxes already, and this sounds a lot of fun. It's about when an elderly woman dies, and she happens to die soon after she thinks that she's been followed. And this woman, in fact, wrote the plots for many murder mystery writers. So she knows all about murders and how best to do away with people. But then she herself dies, and the story goes from there. That sounds really interesting to me, just my sort of cup of tea. So yes, this one is definitely on my list. Next up, there's a book called The Haunting of Almafield, a true ghost story by Kate Summerscale. This one is also out on the 1st of October, and it's set in London in 1938, just the sort of time period I like. It sounds like it would make a really good Halloween read. It's based on a true story, which I don't know, do you think that makes it even spookier or less spooky? I'm not sure, but it sounds intriguing, and as a sort of real life ghost story, it sounds like it would definitely be a good October read. So this is one that's definitely on my list and that I'm looking forward to. The next book, which is also out on the 1st of October, is The First Woman by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi, and It looks really good. It's, I think, the second novel by this author, and it's about a headstrong woman's sort of coming of age story. It's set in Uganda in the 1970s, and it sounds really good. I love books that are really about a sense of place and a sense of language, and apparently language is quite an important theme in this book, so I think it would be one I would really enjoy. It reminds me a bit too of The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abby Dare, which was a coming of age story as well. And I think that, I don't know, they just sound a little bit similar, and I think they follow themes that I enjoy. So The First Woman is a book that is definitely on my list. And then this book is Miss Mole by H.E. Young. This is also due to be republished on October 1st. I've been really excited about this edition. You can see the cover is gorgeous. It's by Emily Sutton. She's one of my favourite artists. I have loads of her prints up on the walls in my home. So I've been really looking forward to this re-release of this book. It's a favourite book of mine too. It's about a sort of former governess who goes and becomes the sort of house mistress of a house owned by a reverend and his daughters. She's the housekeeper. And it's a really charming story, but I haven't read it for years and I'm looking forward to reading it again. It was actually just re-released by Dean Street Press in August, but I held off buying it then because I knew this new Virago edition was coming out, and I have to say I am completely a sucker for a gorgeous cover, and I love the look of this one, so I can't wait to get it. Again, one that's out on the 1st of October is Pandoras Jar, Women in the Greek Myths by Natalie Haynes. So this book is meant to really place women at the forefront of all the Greek myths. Natalie Haynes is a writer I'd like to read more of. She wrote a book called 1,000 Ships, and that's sitting on my shelf and waiting to read it. She did really well with that book. I think it was either longlisted or even shortlisted for the Women's Prize this year. I can't remember, but it was definitely at least longlisted. And she's had really good praise for it. And this one looks very good too. Apparently, before Pandora's box, there was Pandora's jar. So I'm really curious about what that means. But I think these retelling of the myths from sort of female perspective is really interesting. And this is a book that is definitely going on my wish list. Then this next book was actually sent to me in advance, so I can show you the physical copy, and it's What Are You Going Through by Sigrid Nunez. I really enjoyed The Friend by this writer, so I've been looking forward to her new release. This sounds a bit of a dark but an interesting, hopefully entertaining read. It's about a woman whose close friend has been diagnosed with cancer, and she decides that she wants to take her own life, but she asks her friend to help her, and she promises that she'll make the whole process a lot of fun. So definitely an intriguing read, and it's one that I'm looking forward to getting to. I think that Sigrid Nunez is such a subtle writer, and she's just so skilled at tackling these really very difficult subjects and themes surrounding death. So I'm really interested to see how she tackles similar themes in this book. So that's definitely on my list to read soon. And then, let me see, another one that's out October 1st, so we're still in October 1st, but it's called A Secret of Birds and Bone by Kieran Millward Hargraves. This is the latest by Kieran Millward Hargraves. I think she's such a great writer. I've interviewed her. This latest book is one of her new children's books, which I think she's a fabulous writer, both for children and adults. and it sounds really good. I'm especially delighted by the fact that this book is set in Italy. I just love Italy as a location for books. I would love to be able to travel to Italy more myself, so I think it's a lot of wish fulfillment when I read about books that are set in Italy. And it's about two young children whose mother has disappeared, and they're off on a quest, an adventure to find her. So it sounds like sort of classic Kieran, but I'm really looking forward to reading it. Next up, also out on October 1st, is The Artful Dickens by John Mullen. I adore John Mullen's writing. He's written a lot about Jane Austen, and I love his rather irreverent sort of take on writing about classic authors, and his book about Charles Dickens sounds like so much fun. It's a collection of essays surrounding particular topics, and as usual, John Mullen is really having fun with his subject. So I think he asks questions like, how does Dickens most like to finish off his characters? And sort of fun questions like that. But he's so talented at writing about books, about authors in a way that's really engaging, that's a little bit different from a classic biography. And I just love the way that he does that. So like I've said, I've loved his writing about Jane Austen. He wrote a book, I think it's called What Matters in Jane Austen, and that's a real favourite of mine. So The Artful Dickens is high up on my list of books I would like to get. I've got a birthday in October, so, you know, I can but hope, can't I? Hint, hint. But yeah, so this one I would absolutely love to get. And then I'm really excited for this next book, and I'm sure lots of other people are too. Again, it's out on the 1st of October, and it's The Lost Spells by Robert Macfarlane and Jackie Morris. They did so well with their beautiful picture book, The Lost Words, and this is meant to be a book in a similar style, although the format is quite different. I think it's meant to be more pocket-sized, and it's a lot thicker than The Lost Words, but it looks absolutely stunning. I mean, from the pictures I've been looking at online, the illustrations are gorgeous. It's filled with little poems or spells that speak to the wonderful natural world and really pair so well with the beautiful illustrations of the book. So this would make a beautiful gift, I think, for someone, or if you're a nature lover, then I think this would be a lovely book to add to your collection, and it's certainly on my wish list. Then this next book is called Textiles Transformed by Mandy Petullo. It's also out on the 1st of October. Mandy Petullo is the mother of another artist I really like called Alice Petullo. And Mandy herself is an artist, and she deals a lot with textiles, and she creates beautiful collages out of textiles and sort of printing and so on. And I really admire her art. My mum is a huge fan of her too, and she's bought a few of her little artworks. And so I'm quite excited that this new book by Mandy Petullo is coming out. And it's described as a guide to transforming found and cherished textiles. Textile artist Mandy Petullo shows how to source, refashion and repurpose vintage textiles to create beautiful collages and other unique textile objects. I love the way that she repurposes old textiles and makes them into a beautiful work of art. I think that's very special, the way that she does that, and I would love to learn more about how to do that myself. So yes, this book is also on my wish list. Then there's The Golden Age of British Short Stories from 1890 to 1914, edited by Philip Hensher. It's also out on the 1st of October. Lots of books competing for attention all the time. But I love short stories. And apparently there was a real boom in the short story pre-World War One. It was a real golden age for this form of short form literature, and I would love this collection. It looks beautiful. I love reading short stories. I don't know how many people actually do enjoy short stories. Let me know if you do, because I always find that interesting. And yeah, I think this sounds like a gorgeous collection and definitely one I would like to get at least at some point, even if I can't get it in October. Okay, then I'm afraid I'm going to mention the C word, Christmas, because there are some books coming out in October that will just make wonderful Christmas presents and stocking stuffers, and I want to share them with you too. So forgive the early mention, but I can't help myself. So this next book is also out on the 1st of October, and it's The Little Library Christmas by Kate Young. And it's a collection of Christmas recipes and reading recommendations. Well, doesn't that just sound lovely? I would love to get this book as a Christmas present. It's also one that I'm sure I'll be giving to friends too. It sounds like the perfect sort of stocking stuffer. I love Kate Young's books. She's done The Little Library Kitchen and The Little Library Year. I've interviewed her in the past, and I think her books are such a fun idea. Combining good food and good books is just the sort of thing that I enjoy. So I really recommend them, and The Little Library Christmas is absolutely on my list to buy. Okay, so next up are a couple new editions of classic Agatha Christie books. The first one is Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, and it's out on the 1st of October. I absolutely adore the look of this new special edition. I think they're being republished by HarperCollins, and I have a few in this series already. I love the Art Deco looks to the covers, and I'm especially excited that they've re-released Death on the Nile, because this month the film starring Kenneth Branagh of Death on the Nile is coming out. I've seen the trailer and it looks really exciting. There are so many great actors in it. I absolutely can't wait to watch it. I hope that we might be able to stream it. Yeah, because I really am excited to see it, and definitely getting this beautiful edition of the book would be really nice. Death on the Nile is one of the best Agatha Christie's. I remember when I first read it, I was just blown away by the mystery and the solution. I'll never forget my surprise over that one. So I would love to have a gorgeous edition of that book. And also, it's quite a special year for Agatha Christie, because the first Hercule Poirot book, which was called The Mysterious Affair at Styles, was published 100 years ago in 1920. So it's quite a special anniversary for Hercule Poirot this year too. So I'm really glad there's a new Poirot film coming out. And then another Agatha Christie that's being re-released as a beautiful new edition is Midwinter Murder, Fire Sign Mysteries from the Queen of Crime. Also out on the 1st of October. Again, this will make a gorgeous Christmas present. I think it might have to be a little present to myself, because I want to read this in the run-up to Christmas for sure. So I'm sure I'll be buying it in December, if not before, because it just looks like the perfect cozy crime companion. And then this next book is out on the 8th of October, so we're moving along a little bit. And it's the latest in the British Library Women's Writers series. And it's called Tea is So Intoxicating by Mary Essex. Well, as a huge tea drinker, you won't be surprised that I adore that title. That's pretty much sold the book to me already. But I've been really enjoying this series of books so far anyway, so I'm excited there's a new one. And the premise for this sounds a lot of fun. It's about a man who decides to set up a little tea shop, sort of like cafe, in his garden, and it causes a lot of consternation in the village, and it just sounds like a really fun read. So this is one I'm definitely adding to my wish list. Then this next book is also out on the 8th of October, and it sounds really interesting. It's called The Perfect Nine by Ngugiwa Thiong'o. And he's been described as one of the greatest writers of our time by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who's a writer I really admire. And this is a story that's told in verse, and it just sounds really intriguing. I read about it and I sort of instantly put it on my wish list because it sounds so interesting. It's set in Kenya, and it's about 99 suitors who arrive to the foot of a mountain, and they're courting the 10 beautiful daughters who are called the Perfect Nine. I'm intrigued why they're not called the Perfect 10, as there are 10 of them, but presumably that's explained. But so they've arrived to court these beautiful sisters, and the sisters set the men quests and challenges that they have to overcome in order to conquer their hearts. So it sounds like a real mix of folklore and mythology, and I'm sure there's a twist to it, and it just sounds like a really interesting read, and he's meant to be a phenomenal writer, so this is a book I would really like to read. Next up, Raynard the Fox by Anne Louise Avery is out on the 9th of October. Now, how gorgeous is this cover? I admit I'm really drawn to this cover. It just looks absolutely stunning. And apparently Raynard the Fox was a sort of popular character in medieval European folklore. And this is a retelling of those stories by Anne Louise Avery, and it just sounds like a really fun read. I recently discovered Anne Louise Avery on sort of Twitter and social media, and I've been really enjoying the content that she's been producing, and that's really sparked my interest in this new book by her. So definitely one that's on my wish list. I'm really excited about this next book too. It's called The Bloomsbury Look by Wendy Hitchmo. And apparently it's an in-depth analysis of the aesthetic surrounding the Bloomsbury group, and it looks at how they really created their own image through fashion, through art, and it just looks like a must-read for any Bloomsbury group fanatic, and I definitely am that. I have a huge collection of books all on the Bloomsbury group, and this looks like it would be a wonderful addition to that pile. So again, I'm hoping this might be a birthday present, even if it's one I buy myself, as it's coming out after my birthday. But this is definitely going straight to the top of the wish list, and I can't wait to get it. It looks so interesting, and I love the cover too. I really admire the Bloomsbury aesthetic too. I mean, it's just so iconic. And it's been copied so much now and reinvented, but the original somehow still seems so fresh and modern, and I think having a book all about that style and aesthetic is really interesting, so I can't wait to read it. Next up, The Writer's Library by Nancy Pearl and Jeff Schwager, and this is out on the 15th of October, and it's a collection of essays by famous writers on the books that changed their lives and made them think and sort of made them who they are. And I love reading books about books. I love reading writers talking about books. You know, this is all just sort of catnip to me, so I'm really looking forward to this. I think this sounds like just the sort of book I would really enjoy. Then next up is a gorgeous looking coffee table style book. It's called British Designers at Home by Jenny Rose Innes, and it's out on the 15th of October. I think this book looks lovely. I mean, interior design is always definite wish fulfillment for me, just a bit of daydreaming, sort of escapism. I've always lived in rented accommodation in my adult life, so I don't have a lot of scope for interior design, both because of that and through budget restrictions, but I still love gorgeous books that show beautiful interiors. I just love sort of drooling over them and getting little ideas ideas for small changes that I can make that are within my lifestyle, within my budget. And I do find that quite inspiring. This book looks absolutely gorgeous, so it's definitely one that's on my wish list. And then next up, this is out on the 15th of October, is Red Comet, The Short Life and Blazing Art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark. So this is a big new biography of Sylvia Plath. It's meant to make use of a lot of fresh material that has come to light quite recently about her life. So this sounds really interesting, and it's one that's definitely on my wish list. This next book I'm also very excited about. It's a new Penguin cloth-bound classic, and it's called Grim Tales for Young and Old, and it's retold by Philip Pullman. So apparently Philip Pullman has chosen 50 classic Grimm's tales that are favourites of his from the Brothers Grimm, and he's retold them in his own distinctive voice. I love the Grimm's fairy tales, and the idea of Philip Pullman rewriting them is very exciting to me. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal writer, and I really want to get this book. It sounds fabulous. I also love to collect the Penguin cloth-bound editions. I try to get those editions of some of my favourite books, so it's always exciting to me when a new one comes out that I really want to get. Okay, so in terms of the paperback releases coming out this month, this is the one I'm most excited about, and it's Silver Sparrow by Thierry Jones. I adored The American Marriage by Thierry Jones, and I'm really interested to read this book. I think she actually wrote Silver Sparrow first before An American Marriage, but it didn't come out in the UK until after, and the paperback release of Silver Sparrow is just happening in October. It sounds really good. It's about a man who's a bigamist, so he has two separate families, and then the daughters of these two families accidentally meet, and only one of the daughters knows that it's actually her sister. And I think it's all sort of downhill from there, but it sounds so dramatic. I think that she's an amazing writer, so I'm really excited to get this one. Next up, and out on the 29th of October, is The Windsor Knot by S.J. Bennett. This book has been described as Miss Marple meets The Crown, which sold me instantly. It sounds so fun. It's about, oh dear, Queen Elizabeth II, who in this book, which is the first of a new series, she actually solves crimes alongside being the Queen of England. And it just sounds a bit silly, but like it has the potential to be a lot of fun, and I really hope that it is good. So I'm definitely adding this one to my wish list, and I can't wait to read it. I'll have to wait a little while because it's not out to the end of the month, but I really hope it lives up to expectations, because yes, the idea of the Queen as a kind of Miss Marple solving mysteries in her spare time, I think that just sounds delightful, so we'll see. And again, out on the 29th of October is Food for Thought, edited by Annie Gray. And this is meant to be a pocket-sized anthology of classic food writing. It sounds really good. Again, I think it would make a brilliant stocking stuffer for Christmas, for any foodies in your life. And I love Annie Gray's writing. She wrote a biography about Queen Victoria, but looking at her life in terms of the food that she enjoyed and what Queen Victoria ate on a regular basis, and that was really fascinating. She's also written a biography of Churchill's cook during World War II, which I haven't read yet, but I really want to because that sounds wonderful. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Annie Gray, and so I was excited when I saw that she was the editor of this food collection, so definitely one that's on my list. Then also food related and out on the 29th of October is this book called The Biscuit, The History of a Very British Indulgence by Lizzie Collingham. And this apparently covers the history of the biscuit from Roman times to the present day and looks at why the biscuit is such a classic form of British comfort food today. And it just sounds a lot of fun. It's meant to be beautifully illustrated too. And yeah, it's definitely a book that I would love to get. I love sort of quirky food histories like that. They just really appeal to me always for some reason. And then another big food book that loads of people are excited about that's out in October is Cook, Eat, Repeat by Nigella Lawson. And that is out on the 29th of October. I'm so excited for this one. I think in this book, Nigella's meant to be going back to her roots a bit in a way, and that this is a collection of essays on food as well as recipes. I've always admired the way Nigella Lawson writes about food. I think she's a fantastic writer. And like I said, I think in this book, she's really going back to that. And it's a cookbook as much to be read as to be cooked from, and that's just the sort of cookbook that I love. So I'm really excited about this. And then another book I'm excited about is The Swallow, a biography by Stephen Moss. This is out on the 29th of October too. He wrote biographies of the Wren and the Robin, and he also wrote The 12 Birds of Christmas, and I have all of those books. I think he's such a great writer. One thing that was such a joy to me this summer when we moved to Yorkshire is we saw so many swallows, and it made me really want to learn more about the birds. So I'm so excited that the latest in this series of his is about the swallow. So this is one that's going straight to the top of my list too. It's so hard, isn't it, when there are so many books you want to buy and want to read. It's a good job I don't buy a lot of like clothes or pretty much anything else apart from books because there are definitely a lot I'd like to get. And then this last one is also out on the 29th of October, and I've actually been sent an early proof copy of it, and it's called Kiss Myself Goodbye, The Many Lives of Aunt Munker by Ferdinand Mount. This sounds really interesting. It's a part memoir, part biography of Ferdinand Mount's aunt, who named herself after a Beatrix Potter character and had a very eccentric life and a very secretive life. I think she was very secretive about her past, but she became a millionaireess. And this is about her nephew's search to really try to find out who his aunt really was. He uncovers some of these secrets and lies that have been in the family, and it just sounds like a really intriguing read. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one. Anyway, those are all of the books that I'm excited about for October, that are making me excited for the reading month ahead. I hope you've enjoyed my recommendations and this little insight into my little black book of books, as I like to think of it. Let me know if this is something you'd like me to do again. I'm thinking of maybe making it a regular monthly thing where I share with you the books I'm most excited about for the upcoming month. Now, normally I do put links to the books that I've talked about in the description box down below. As these books aren't out yet, I'm not linking to them for this video, but I hope it's still given you a lot of great ideas, and I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, which you can do by clicking my face that pops up somewhere around here. But I'll be back again very soon for another bookish chat. Bye!